Good day, fellow Jersey nerds, and welcome to episode 7 of Throwback Throwdown, powered by HockeyJerseyConcepts.com. I'm your host, Ryan, and today's Throwdown, we're looking at the 2004 World Cup of Hockey. Last week, we did the 96 World Cup of Hockey, and we looked at Canada, Russia, Finland, and Team USA. We're looking at those 4 teams again, but this time for the 2004 World Cup. Our 2 winners will meet in the final throwdown. And if you want to take a look at these jerseys while you're listening to us, links to pictures of all the jerseys are available in the episode description. Joining us to determine our Throwback Throwdown champion for this week are Sean. What's going on, Sean?
I just noticed that a young man by the name of Alexander Frolov was on an otherwise stacked Russian team this year. Man, want to talk about wasted potential. Anyways, good, Ryan. Good. Doing great.
Corey, you're joining us for this week's Throwback Throwdown. What's going on?
Not much. I got myself a cup of coffee ready to go. Had a few late nights, so I'm trying not to fall asleep. Not because I'd be bored during the podcast, just out of sheer sleep deprivation.
Corey's grinding it out this week. Also joining us is Steve. Steve, do you have any memories of this 2004 World Cup of Hockey?
Vaguely, and none of them are pleasant.
And Beepo, 2004 World Cup of Hockey. We talked about last week how old everybody was. How old were you for the 2004 World Cup of Hockey?
Just throwing back, Ryan. How about you? I had to get that in. But let's see. I think I would have been about maybe 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there.
You should have some vivid memories then.
Jesus Christ. Baby.
Let's see, what was this? Probably around September-ish of 2004.
Yeah,
right?
just before the big lockout.
So then that would mean...
Literally, Canada won the tournament, and then the next day, the owners locked out the players for the entire year.
Yeah, I would have been 5 and turning 6 in a couple months.
Oh, so you were in depth on all the details of the tournament and the lockout. So you should provide a great perspective here. But all the jerseys are ready, and we're ready to throw back. All right, our first matchup is the champion from this tournament, the 2004 Team Canada red jersey, going up against the 2004 Team Russia red jersey. So looking at the Team Canada jersey, this, as I mentioned, was a red jersey, used the current Hockey Canada logo. The hem and the arm stripes were the same. It's a big, broad black stripe outlined on both sides in white. The collar was a 2-color collar, very similar to what you got. It was very similar to what Nike liked to do in the late 90s, kind of a similar collar to what you see on the Buffaslug. So that, I don't know.
The horse collar.
Horse collar, keyhole collar. I've seen it called a lot of things. So that's the kind of collar Team Canada was using. We look at Team Russia. They're using the same style of collar. It's a red collar. Red jersey for them as well. Their typical shield on the front there. The sleeves, it's a full blue sleeve trimmed in white, and then going through the sleeve is their flag pattern. So pretty decent design here from Russia, but we'll see how it does. We'll start with the review of the Team Canada jersey, and Sean, you're up first.
You know, sometimes jerseys have an influence on you that you don't feel at the time, but years later you recognize. And for me, this is the jersey that probably made me fall in love with the idea of Canada always having black on their jerseys. I love everything about these. The black helmets, the red jersey, the striping, the numbers, the horse collar, you name it. This and 2014 are my 2 favorite Team Canada jerseys of all time. You know, just wear these all the time. That's all I'm saying. And a great roster nonetheless.
Was a pretty solid roster. Corey, your thoughts on the 04 Canada jersey?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Sean. That's the design that I remember when I was a kid. That's what the associating it too with certain successes that they had as a team makes me like it better than being Canadian. So it's not necessarily the nicest Canada jersey, but it's got sentimental reasons for me to be my favorite Canada jersey.
Steve?
I do remember this jersey, and I remember seeing Lemieux hold the championship trophy with that Captain C on there, and everyone in Pittsburgh being depressed and happy at the same time because our captain had won another trophy, yet he was representing another country. But that's besides the point. But no, I really do like the simplicity of this, how it's just a big fat black stripe there with the white outline on a red jersey, the black pants, the black helmet. It all works. It's a perfect color combination, which I think Canada is having a lot of trouble with today, but it really works on this.
Bebo, your thoughts on the 04 Canada red jersey?
This thing is just a classic, and such a traditional design fits perfectly with a country with the history of or the hockey history that Canada has. It's so simple; it's really hard to detract from it too much. The only things that I don't really like are the number font. I think a block font would have worked a lot better, and I would have removed the Canada word mark from below the logo as well, and just made the actual emblem a little bit larger on the front. Because also you have Canada on the shoulder patches. I think it's fine on the shoulder patches. I think it might be a little bit overkill having it on the shoulder patches and the front. But overall, it's such a traditional design. It looks great. And if they incorporated black this well today, I would be ecstatic. And they do it so well here. The color balance is great. It's a great jersey overall.
Yep, I agree. This is a great jersey. This is my favorite set of Canada jerseys. I did like the white in favor of the red, but we are looking at the red today. So the color combination here really helps the logo stand out, and it doesn't look like, oh, they're trying to add. It doesn't look like black is a bad addition here. It looks like it complements the jersey, whereas some of the jerseys that Canada has come out with recently look like they're trying to use black as too much of a color. It's a simple classic design. And even though it was a fairly new jersey at the time, only 3 or 4 years old, it felt like it was a classic jersey that it had been around for a long time. Almost like how a team looks when they're wearing a classic retro jersey, except this one wasn't a throwback to anything. It was their current jersey. So really like this one. Let's take a look at Russia's red jersey from the 04 World Cup of Hockey. Sean, you're up.
All right. Meh. These weren't the worst thing Russia would wear in this decade. That goes to the blue versions of these that were just absolutely nasty. But they're fine. They're passable. I'm not a huge fan on what they decided to do here with the sort of Flyers-esque arm thing. It kind of curves up around to make like a rounded hem, sure, and then comes back down again. They're okay. Yeah, I am always in favor of Russia using more red and white than blue. And here, if you swap the white and blue, honestly, I think you'd have something really solid. But as is, it's very indicative of the times. It's kind of dated now. And overall, it's just not Team Canada.
Corey?
I don't think it's awful. I kind of agree with Sean that it's just kind of meh. I think that incorporating the flag as the stripes on the arm is kind of neat. I don't like how the white outline kind of stops around the cuffs. You have the blue that goes all the way down, and then the cuff is blue, but the white stops at the cuffs. I think if the white went all the way around, it would be a little bit better. I'm kind of nitpicking at it, but I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's great. It's just an all right looking jersey.
Steve, what do you think of Team Russia's jerseys here?
I don't know what the heck those two were thinking. This is a bad jersey. Like, as you know, I'm not really a fan of the half sleeves. I think some teams pull it off really well, but this is not a good half sleeve design at all. Like, I like that they put the Russian flag in for striping. Yeah, that's clever, but doing this to where it's kind of like Flyers-esque, but it just, I don't like how they have the yoke surrounded that like swoops under and goes towards that horse collar, and it just swoops in the back as well with that blue, and just that really thin hem stripe just annoys me. It's like they put it on there as an afterthought. And overall, this is just not one of their better jerseys at all. And this just shows the time period and all the design choices that Nike decided to make with all these.
Beepo, where do you stand on these Team Russia jerseys?
I stand a lot closer to Sean and Corey than I do with Steve. It's an alright jersey. It's nothing too great. It's nothing too awful. I like the Russian flag striping in the half yoke thing. And overall, I mean, there's not too much to love about it. It's fairly simple. Other than that, I think they do a good job on the full uniform of kind of balancing the colors with having it very top heavily blue on the jersey, having the bottom of the socks stay blue to keep that balanced. But other than that, there's not really too much to it other than the yoke design. It's consistent all around. That's another positive. But other than that, there's not much to love about it. There's not too much to hate about it.
Yeah, I think this jersey is just decent. I think it's dated. I think it definitely shows its age as you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a Russia jersey from the past. I don't think there's any desire to bring it back. It's kind of a timestamp of their jersey history. As we have all mentioned, the flag pattern around the elbows is a nice touch. The sleeve / yoke kind of full arm thing here, the blue stuff, is a little weird on the setup, but it's all part of the jersey and just helps make it very average. So it's time to choose our winners, and I'm going to jump in line here and give my vote to Team Canada's 04 red jersey. Sean.
You know what? I'm going to surprise everybody and say Team Canada.
I feel shocked. Corey.
Yeah, I'm with Team Canada too.
All right, Team Canada is moving on, but Beepo, you want to add to that score?
Oh man, I was gonna say I wish you didn't take or come to me last because I need some extra time for this. Now Canada, 100%.
4-0 Canada. Steve, is it a clean sweep or are you giving one to Russia?
Oh, Canada.
5-0 Canada moves on to the final. Kind of a reverse of what happened last week when they got smoked in the first round by Russia. They turned the tables in 04 and smoke Russia. So let's move on to our second semifinal. Now we're looking at white jerseys. Just like last week, we have Finland going up against Team USA. We're going to be looking at the Finnish jersey first. And in the 2004 World Cup of Hockey, they made the final against Canada. Lost the game 3-2 on a third period goal by Shane Doan, I believe it was. But that didn't affect their jerseys. Anyways, this is a white jersey as we talked about. That kind of capital blue that they used is on the sleeve. That's trimmed in navy blue. Then there's kind of a thicker white line and then another capital blue stripe. Their traditional English language crest is on the front. And the cuffs on this jersey were navy. The font is very interesting. It's almost like a very basic Times New Roman font. It's got a little more style to it, but it's kind of a basic font. But the numbers on the back are in navy and are trimmed in capital blue. If we're looking at the Team USA uniforms, Team USA made the semifinals in the 2004 World Cup, losing to Finland in a game played in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. But we got the white Team USA jersey, typical Team USA crest on the front. This also has a full sleeve pattern, but it arches from the collar down to kind of the armpit area. Down near the cuffs, we got a red stripe red stripe, white stripe, navy stripe, and then another white stripe. Tough for me to say. Hem stripes are a thick navy stripe with a white stripe above it, and then a thicker red stripe above that. Interesting note here is that on the front of the jersey, the hem stripes are cut off by the mesh panel, which runs down from the armpit. The numbering on this jersey is a navy blue trimmed in red. So let's start off with Team Finland jersey. Sean, what do you think of it?
So yeah, Finland recently, fantastic jerseys. Probably hasn't had a bad jersey at least since the 2010 Olympics. And I think at the time, like 2004, I really liked these. But since then, I am not a fan of these. And in fact, I think back on this era, up till, probably the 2010 Olympics, I just remember Finland looking really, 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 really mediocre.
Corey, your thoughts on Team Finland?
I remember liking these when I was younger, but now when I see them, I don't know if it's just it looks really dated or what it is. Maybe it's that Finland jerseys have improved over time, but yeah, I look at it now and it looks very bland, very uninspired. I don't have much to say about it. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and I was a big Saku Koivu fan when I was a kid. And it's just weird to me now that when I look at it, I remember it fondly because one of my favorite players wore it. But looking at it now, it's just, I think the personal bias towards it has worn off a little bit, and I can kind of see that it's just not great. It's just very basic, very bland, nothing special, nothing stands out about it.
Steve, your thoughts on Team Finland?
I mean, I have to go along. It's just not a special jersey. I mean, it's a half blue, half yoke with a black stripe and then some random blue stripe centered off of it with black cuffs. And then they have, is that Finland written in Finnish in the hem?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like I said, a lot of these jerseys, it just feels like the hem is an afterthought, and they wanted to focus on giving everybody the half sleeves except Canada and Sweden, because you don't touch those jerseys. But it just, I look at it and I'm like, okay, and so I don't see anything impressive about it, but at the same time, it's not the most terrible jersey out of everything that Nike has made for the 2004 World Cup of Hockey.
Beepo, you liking these jerseys from Finland or not so much?
My opinion on this jersey is similar to some of the other ones expressed on it, and similar to our opinions on the Russia jersey. It's okay. It's nothing too spectacular. It's nothing that bad either. I actually like the font more than I expected I would for something like this. I mean, I don't love it, but it somehow works. The half sleeve is okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It really shows its age. The thing that I really don't like is the hem treatment. Like Steve said, I think it seems like an afterthought in this one especially. And I'll mention it again whenever we were talking about the USA ones, but I think I like USA's treatment better, even though it's also not great in some ways. I just don't think having just the word there adds enough to it.
Yeah, I think these jerseys are not horrible. I just think they're very functional. They get the colors on there, they get the logo on there, and then just here's some player numbers, and let's tie back to our language and put our country name in our native language on the bottom. So it's just a functional jersey, and I don't think it has too much flash, but it certainly isn't terrible. Let's look at
it feels like Slovenia's most recent Olympic jerseys. That's what it feels like.
The green ones that had the basic striping, did they not?
No, the blue ones.
Oh, the blue. Okay, yeah.
with the yellow
Yes.
triangular design, and it's like they just went up to it. It's like, here you go, guys, because you guys are so good. You've made it to the Olympics again. Here you go. It's kind of like we really couldn't come up with anything better. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, now let's take a look at the 2004 Team USA white jerseys from the World Cup of Hockey. Sean, you're up first.
Hey, let me do my best TC impression. These are glorious. Just look at these. There's so much freedom in them. TC can't be with us today. He's emotionally recovering from the Matt Zuccarello trade, and we wish him all the best here at the HJC studio in Toronto. But nonetheless, absolutely resonating the glorious freedom that America offers. Also, Tony Amonte wore these, and Tony Amonte is fantastic.
Well, it's hard to argue with any of those points. Corey, your thoughts on the Team USA jerseys?
They're they're nice. I think that they're better than a lot of the jerseys we saw from that time. The hem is weird to me that it doesn't go all the way around. It looks like the sides are just empty, and other than that, I think it's all right. I've always really liked the USA hockey logo. I like the star and stripes on the shoulder patches. There's just not any like amazing jerseys from that tournament, other than the ones we looked at. I guess we were talking about. So yeah, it's good. It's better than some of the other ones we talked about. It's just good.
Steve?
I'd have to agree with Corey. It's one of the better ones that Nike came up with. It feels like it makes more sense than a lot of the other ones. Granted, I still don't like the design overall just because of the arching and the way it is, but I do like that the sleeves are a complete color instead of a half sleeve design. And just once again, the hem feels like an afterthought, or they were trying to experiment with the hem, and it just, all the hems on this style design seem really thin, really just as an afterthought, and I don't like any of them. I think if they were to follow this striping pattern, bring it up a little bit, and just have it go fully all the way around, this would be a solid jersey. It could be something that we could look back on very fondly. But overall, I mean, it's really like you have to pick, like, out of a bunch of mediocre jerseys, which one's one of the best ones, and I think really this one is.
Beepo, what do you think of your country's white jersey from the 2004 World Cup?
I have to agree with a lot with Steve and Corey in that I think it's sort of in a similar area to the Russia and Finland jerseys, but it's definitely a lot better than both of those. The sort of yoke thing that they were doing works a lot better on this one than it does on those two. And whenever you look at the full uniform, especially, the colors are balanced really well. There's a lot of blue in there, a lot of white, and just a little bit of red as an accent color. It works perfectly. My main problems with this jersey come down to consistency, in where you kind of have the yoke outline on the chest area is kind of that blue, white, red pattern. And then same thing on the hem, that blue, white, red pattern. But on the arms, you kind of get blue, red, white, blue, white again. And then the socks are just completely different as well. They line up a little bit more with the arms. I think if you had them all, not necessarily the same thickness, but just the same sort of order of colors, I think it would look a lot better. And as I mentioned in the Finland review, I'm not particularly fond of the way the hem stripes cut off there, but I think it works a lot better than not having anything there other than a word mark. So I'll give them points for that too, I guess.
And I'd have to agree with most of you with this is one of Nike's better jobs with the international jerseys, using a sleeve pattern. So I just remember it's a lot better than the Finland one or the Russian one we've discussed previously. This one is very much reminiscent. This is the one I think of when I think of Team USA in my childhood. And I also really like that even though it's a white jersey, it does have lots of color on it, but it doesn't come across as a white jersey trying to be colorful. So it has the right amount of color on it, but it still very much is a white jersey. So, but again, as I said, with Russia, it's a timestamp of the jersey era. And I don't know if there's any need to kind of go back to it, or if it wasn't very progressive. It just was what it was for the era, and it'll always be remembered as a early 2000s Team USA jersey. So it's time to pick our winner now of semifinal number 2. Team Finland 04 white jersey against Team USA 04 white jersey. Sean, you're up.
America.
Really? Because that's not a Finnish song? That seems like something they would enjoy in Finland.
No, if the Finnish tend to enjoy death metal. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No. And before, I complete my PC impression, there are no real Canadian songs. I can play some Stompin' Tom, but I don't want to show up the Americans too much here.
Plus, we haven't paid for that kind of stuff, so let's not do that.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need the CBC cracking down.
Yeah, because they're listening to little tiny podcast based out of Toronto. Corey, Finland or USA? Who do you have?
I'm going to go with USA because they just don't suck as much as everyone else.
All right. Steve, Finland or USA?
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. So, USA, baby.
Beepo?
Do I have to play a song too, like Sean and Steve did? All right, hold on. Let's see here.
Make sure it's not copyrighted.
Oh, look at that. It's copyrighted.
He's done that bit.
Okay.
All right. So that's I'll give my vote to Team USA too. That's a clean sweep in both semifinals, which leads us to a very interesting final. We have Team Canada's 04 red jersey going up against Team USA's 04 white jersey in the final. Sean, which one you taking and why?
I'm taking Canada because I'm Canadian. No, Canada has the better jersey so much by far. But the real winner is last week's winner. Slovakia in the 1996 World Cup wins for a second week in a row.
All right, I'll put you down for Canada. Good stuff. Corey, Canada or Team USA?
I'm going to go Canada as well. Canada always came out on top over the USA in these uniforms anyways, so why mess with history?
Except for that World Junior where Fleury put it in his own net off Patrick O'Sullivan.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
We're not talking about that.
Who's Patrick O'Sullivan?
Some goon who's on the radio now.
Didn't the Canadian government wipe that World Juniors from everybody's memory?
I believe it was stricken from the record. That's accurate. Yep. Steve?
And we're censored in Saskatchewan.
Steve, Canada or the U.S.?
I'm going to have to go with Canada. You just can't beat a traditional good-looking jersey like that. You're kind of like comparing a proper jersey with some experimental jersey that just is dated literally a year after it came out.
All right. Beepo, I'm giving my vote to Canada. So currently it sits at 4-0. You going to throw USA a vote or is it a clean sweep?
It's a clean sweep. I got to give it to Canada for one simple reason. USA's is good. Canada's is great.
I'm changing my vote to the U.S. to keep fragile egos. at bay.
Too late. Sorry, Sean. The winner is Canada.
Never said Canada should lose. I just didn't want some people coming back on the podcast after their emotional break and, feeling upset or hurt or,
You know what? I am a Pirates fan. I have no sympathy for it because all they do is epic failure. Okay? So for the certain amount of team to lose their stuff, I could care less.
Steve the fuck's a pirate.
Steve the pirate. Anyway.
Oh, come on.
The fuck's a pirate? What sport's that from?
The same sports that the Padres are from in the Expos, the superior Canadian team.
We don't recognize those type of things on the podcast. Steve Ryan's talked about baseball.
What the hell's an Expos?
Uh-oh. Oh.
Do we really want to get into this?
Ryan.
I heard they're signing Bryce Harper.
In front of Ori K.
What's that?
Yeah, them.
I said Blue Jackets guy.
said X-Nay on the expose in front of Ori K.
Sensitive topic?
Yeah, I'm just trying to... I'm actually looking at my Expos jersey right next to me and shedding a tear, hoping that maybe one day they'll come back.
I was going to say wiping away a tear with your Expos jersey, but...
yeah, that's all it's good for now.
Maybe one day. All right, so the winner of this week's Throwback Throwdown, avenging their loss, their complete obliteration from last week when we did the 96 World Cup, but the winner of this Throwback Throwdown for the 2004 World Cup of Hockey is Team Canada. That was an excellent version of O Canada. Just quality stuff there. All right, so that's our Throwback Throwdown for this week. Be sure to like, share, download, subscribe to all of our podcasts across the network. We got the Jersey Nerds podcast every Tuesday, and we have Fake or Authentic every Thursday. On hockeyjerseyconcepts.com right now, we have the Montreal Maroons redesign, and entries are due March 8th. And just announced, beginning on March 8th, as soon as the entry phase is done for the Montreal Maroons competition, our next competition will be a Quebec Nordiques redesign using the prototype, the unused logo. And that begins on March 8th. So stay tuned to all of our social media and the blog for the rules and to see when that starts. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. That'd be Sean, Corey, Steve, and Beepo. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening. Thank you and goodbye.